Jeff Mosher, he's got an event going on tonight with the Inside the Birds podcast, Adam Kaplan, and our next guest, Todd Herremans, that starts at 7 o'clock at Chickies, 410 Robbins Avenue. This is the original, right,
Yep,
Moch?
up in Mayfair, the original Chickies.
And you guys are doing like a Q&A,
yeah,
watch
it's a
the
watch
birds.
party. We're going to have giveaways from Mayfair businesses, art history, factory donuts, Chickies and Pete's
Donuts?
basket. Yeah, donuts. Gift
I'm
card.
in.
And a Todd Herremans signed football. Someone's going to win a Todd Herremans signed football.
Awesome.
Well, what are the chances that we ran Todd Herremans down and had him on our show right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline to talk more about this event and the Eagles? Hey, Todd, welcome aboard, man. How you doing?
What's up, guys? Hopefully I can win that Herremans signed ball tonight, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Put your ticket in there. We'll make it a little ice cold, and we'll pull that one out. We'll know which one the cold one is. Winner
got
is
you,
Todd Herremans. Todd, we got a lot with this team, 1 and 2. Now, I'm sure you've been on many teams that had a lot of high expectations, some which maybe didn't get off to the start you would have liked. What goes on in those times when you know, man, there's a lot of expectations, but for some reason we're not off to a good start? How do you've probably been on teams where that has happened in the past.
100%. Basically what you got to do is just put the blinders on and just keep plugging away. You know, there's a couple things that happened in those in the second game for sure that could have easily tipped the scale the other way. And we're sitting 2-1 going into this game. But, you know, you really can't listen to everything else because they make it seem like doomsday, you know, with all the expectations and how they're ending up now. But as a player, you just got to block all that out and, you know, focus on the game and try to get a W and get things turned around.
How difficult does that become, you know, when you get the drops? You get guys, you're doing your job, and you don't like to point the finger. But how frustrating is it in that moment when you have a drop touchdown or a drop pass that could have been, you know, put you in the red zone? Is that something that, I mean, you guys are human beings. I got to imagine when it happens in the moment, you're like, dude, I'm about to wring your neck.
I mean, you get frustrated, but, you know, you better make sure your house isn't made out of glass if something like that happens because, you know, you obviously had a couple plays in that game that could have went the other way too yourself. So, you know, it really doesn't get into like a stone casting match like that. You know, obviously it's a letdown for everybody in the stadium. You know, no more for anyone other than the person who caught it, you know, or who dropped it. You know, they feel the worst about it. But as a player, you just got to move on from that stuff.
Hey, Todd, I know you've played in Green Bay in September, a season opener, I think, 1 year, and obviously you've played in there when it's cold. Is it a little bit different when you're playing the Packers at Lambeau on a nice fall day as opposed to later in the season when it's winter and the whole frozen tundra thing, or is that just elements that don't really matter much?
No, man, that's a real thing. It's cold up there. It's really cold. The ground gets really hard. The ball gets really hard to catch. I mean, that happens all over the country, but it's really cold up there. I mean, you get it in a couple other places in extreme temperatures and stuff, but, you know, that affects guys. And if they're not constantly in temperatures like that, it can get to you while you're out there on the field.
Yeah, Todd, one thing, too, you know, when you're on the offensive line and you are blocking up front, different running backs shuffling in and out. How does that affect what you guys do up front?
Oh, you don't pay any attention to who's behind you. Yeah, I always got this question asked to me, you know, when we were going through our quarterback changes, like Nick Foles or Mike Vick, you know, like how do you block differently? You block according to what play is called, and it doesn't really matter who's running the ball, who's throwing the ball, or who's catching the ball. As an offensive lineman, you have a job no matter who's behind you to execute, and that's really what you got to focus on.
Todd, when you look at the offensive line this season so far through 3 games, what have you seen? Do you think they're running the ball enough? Because that's a big topic. And how do you think the guys up front have been playing?
You know, hit and miss. I think the run blocking has looked good. I think some protection, sometimes it looks good. Sometimes it looks bad, you know. I think right now, early in the season, one of the things that's kind of common with offensive linemen is to not be able to pass stunts off properly or as smoothly as they'd like to. So I think that you'll see improvements on that. Guys setting back on the same level and stuff. But you know, I really like Jordan Howard. I'd like to see some more of him out there, just pounding the rock. I I think he would give us some great, just ball control movement.
Mosher's head just dropped. He and I battled on that on Monday, and
I'm trying to get the kid out there, man.
I kind of said the same thing. And I guess maybe Todd, we have a little older school mentality of, hey, let the bigger guy wear them down, and then let the dynamic guy feast on a worn down defense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my mind with that is Miles is getting all these touches early, and that's not a bad thing. But he is putting the ball on the turf, so why don't you cut his touches a little bit? And just go with a trusted guy like Howard, who, he's been pretty good in his early career. You know what I mean? Let him shine out here in Philly.
Yeah, no, I get that. And funny, because we've talked about that a lot, Todd. And my rebuttal was, and I went back to your old coach, Andy, he drafted that kid, Kareem Hunt, out of Toledo, and he never fumbled it ever at Toledo. And his first carry against the Patriots on that opening night a couple of years ago, he fumbled, and then he went on to have 148 yards and 3 touchdowns. So I just think for what the offense that they're running right now and the skill set that Miles had, you saw the 2 catches that he had last week, that if they keep working on you have to live with some of the mistakes to reap the benefits of the explosion that he can give you. That was my philosophy.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, he's on the field for a reason. He can make something happen at any given point. And, it does become a thing like, where do you overlook, the pill getting on the ground as to the, 80-yard play that he could rip off, at any given time. Right. So it's just a balance of the risk you're willing to take. But I think when you're sitting at 1 and 2, I would go with the slow and steady wins the race here and keep that ball on our side.
Todd, something that we heard a lot when Nick Foles was still in the mix was when Carson's under center, Doug tries to do too much with his play calling, and Carson at times tries to save the world under every snap. And then when Nick Foles is under center, they simplify things. Foles gets the ball out of his hands. Through 3 games this year, how do you assess Doug's play calling with the offense and how Carson has just managed games and, making plays or not making plays?
I think Carson's actually done a pretty good job with his performance up to this point. You can't catch the ball for the receivers. You try to put it in a good spot. The ball's been pretty much in a catchable area on a lot of those drops and stuff. But as far as play call goes, I mean, you get someone of Carson's caliber, and you're actually calling the offense, it's got to be hard to try to stay in this, boring framework of, success.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have all this ability and possibilities with him, and then all the other weapons that you add, you want to be able to broaden your playbook as much as possible. But I think, that's just probably something all coordinators with an outstanding quarterback probably struggle with themselves. Is to just, call something that's going to work and not something necessarily that's going to give you a magnificent day. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, I think that'll also go as the season, you start out 1 and 2. Obviously, you're going to go back to the drawing board, maybe tighten some things up, simplify it for your quarterback or for maybe some of the receivers. Maybe there's too many formations or motions or something like that are taking their mind out of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, a simple package come out, and especially with a short week, just come out and try to use a little old school football tonight.
Talking with former Eagles offensive lineman Todd Herremans. And by the way, Todd, tonight when you're with me and Adam Kaplan at Chickies in Mayfair at the watch party, there's going to be Todd Herremans trivia for the people. So make sure you know the answers to your own questions, all right? And maybe you can win something.
Oh, nice. We're going to study up.
Yeah,
Todd's going to win something.
Well, maybe if Todd can answer questions about himself.
Okay. Todd Herremans. Right? Where did Todd Herremans go to college?
I bet you everybody messes that up, right, Todd?
Let's say that's a hard one.
Possible.
It's possible. All right, we'll see. But I wanted to ask you something you alluded to about the short rest. The Eagles have been really good lately. They're 4-0 on these Thursday night games. But is it more what you do, especially as the road team, in the classroom that week than, say, on the field in preparation for the game?
I think so. It's tough early in the season because I think that you do a lot of prep on the field early in the season, and then as the season goes on, a lot of it just becomes classroom when everybody's a little sharper on their assignments and stuff like that. But, I don't think that it hurts having the short week this early in the season because you don't have we went through our share of bumps and bruises in week 2, but you just don't have the week 9 lingering things that have been driving guys insane for the past 7 weeks and stuff. So it's not like you have to turn around on a beat up body as much as you would later in the season. But yeah, I really think it becomes a game plan thing, and then whoever studies their game plan the best. Because, coaches always give a game plan, but it's about the players to absorb it in the amount of time that they have. So that's more what it's on in the short week, I think.
Real quick, how do you feel about this guy? I think you know what it's like as a player and hearing all the noise. There's a lot of people who are freaking out about the Eagles' chances, including the guy sitting next to me. But, as a more objective analyst, do you think the Eagles have a pretty good shot tonight?
Oh, man. Objectively looking at it, it's tough to go in the Lambeau 1-2 and not be firing on all cylinders and get a W, especially, they're looking pretty good this year. But then again, dude, a rookie coach, his first Thursday night game ever of his career, that'll be different for him too. So we'll see. Matt LaFleur was my quarterback in college, so I'm excited for this game.
How about that?
Yeah.
You were supposed to save that for trivia night, by the way. You just gave one away.
Damn.
That's all right. We'll get other stuff. Hey, real quick before we get you.
What years in college?
All right, we'll get that. Before we get you out of here, though, let us know what you're doing with former Flyer Riley Cote.
Oh, okay. Me and Riley started a hemp oil company where we sell CBD products just as a health and wellness supplement. Trying to combat the opioid crisis in a more mindful, natural way. So we're looking to help out a lot of alumni and current players, and not just that, but really anybody that's got inflammation in their life. We feel like we can make a pretty big difference. I use it. My whole family uses it. So it's good stuff. We can talk about more of it later tonight, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's later tonight. Moshe, Inside the Birds with Jeff Mosher, Adam Kaplan, and Todd Herremans will be their guests. That is at the Chickies and Pete's in Mayfair tonight.
Right, the original.
The watch party they're having up there. So Moshe is down here with us, and then he's going to be heading up there. Todd will be there. Hey, Todd, we appreciate you spending a couple of minutes with us here at the EHT version of Chickies and Pete's. Thanks so much.
No problem, guys.
See you later, bud.
And Todd Herremans, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.